Slay! You hear that bubbling? Hi everyone, welcome to Flambe, my absolute dumpster fire of a cooking show. My name is Yanni, and today we're making a gorgeous eggplant parm pasta. Get some napkins ready, wipe those mouths because you will be salivating after this, I'm not kidding. I'm gonna have like a little glass plate tray, what is this called? Dish? Glass dish on the side ready. Eggplants, and of course, a knife. We're starting it off real easy. I'm just gonna slice the ends off of these eggplants like so. I'm gonna cut this in planks. I think it's a lot easier to cook this when you're working with these planks. They have a lot of surface area, first of all, to absorb salt and to release moisture when we season them. And then after that, when we cook them in the oven, they have all the surface area so steam and water can escape. I don't want this to be too wet. I want it to be creamy. So the more water we can pull out of these in the oven, the better. So I'm just gonna lay these in this baking dish, which only fits like 4 slices. How disappointing. We'll squeeze. We can all fit. Everyone sharing is caring. I only have coarse sea salt right now, so that's what I'm using. I ran out of diamond crystal kosher salt, which is what I usually use. The coarse kosher salt still does the job. It just does it a little less good. So bear with me. We're gonna set these aside, let them drain for ideally an hour. It doesn't have to take an hour. You don't have to devote your whole life to this. It's fine. I don't wanna scare you, that's the thing. And now we're grabbing our cast iron pan. Do you have any advice for cleaning these? Because my elbow has used up all its grease. We're gonna throw this on the stove. We're gonna start making our tomato sauce. Do I wanna do this in a pan? Does that make sense? Why am I doing this in a pan? No, I'm not doing this in a pan. What I'm doing actually is I'm putting a pot on the stove because that actually makes sense. While that's doing its thing, I'm going to pour in a little bit of olive oil, let that come to temp, and then we're gonna throw our cherry tomatoes in here. We want these to take their time to break down. Eventually, these cherry tomatoes will like pop open, they'll burst, and all that water is gonna come out. We're gonna slowly cook it off. Whoa! What is wrong with me? Okay, and that's it. Let these do their thing. Give them a little privacy. To help make this go a little faster, put a lid on it. It just cooks a little faster this way. Okay, we have our eggplant and we have a baking tray. I think I'm gonna split them half and half. Half in that glass dish, half in here. We want as much like open surface area. I don't want any of these covered with other eggplant because they're just gonna take a lot longer to cook. They're gonna get mushy and steamed. I don't want that. Also, I'm gonna pat them, get some of that water off that it released after the salt, and pop them in the oven. And of course, we wanna like stagger these in the oven so they both have room for the steam to escape. Actually, this should be like a rack lower, but I'm not gonna fuss over it. It's fine, not a big deal. So I'm just gonna, okay, flip these. These are actually looking pretty good. This is kind of the texture that I want. So when I was recipe developing this, I did it on a regular pan, and that's why I pulled the pan out earlier, because I got like a really nice sear on them like that. Did I put olive oil on these? I don't think I did. See, okay, this is why olive oil is good. I'm just gonna, whoop. Okay, here's the thing. I hate using the oven mitt I have, and it's because I don't own one. It's my roommate's, and it's literally a Taylor Swift oven mitt. This thing has fallen apart. It says, baker's gonna bake, 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 bake. This is disintegrated. I think this was only for show, but like I use it as a proper oven mitt. Okay, and I'm gonna put these on top now, just so they can switch. Also, the ones that were in the front, I'm gonna put in the back. We want everything to kind of like be even. I forgot to put olive oil, so here's a little bit. All right, let's pop them in the oven. They only need like 10 more minutes and then they're pretty good. All right, let's see how this looks. You can see all the steam buildup. This is kind of doming over here. Oh, gorgeous. I'm obsessed. So in here, I'm gonna like raise the heat a little bit. I have this tomato paste here, and what I wanna do is I wanna cook this down. So I'm gonna get some of that liquid out now that these tomatoes have like been pulverized. Pulverized? No, I haven't like beaten them up. These tomatoes have like dissolved, I guess. I don't know what the word is. You know what I mean though. You know what I mean. Do you hear that? You hear that bubbling? I'm grabbing another one of my filthy pots. I'm gonna fill this up with water because this is where we're gonna cook our pasta in. I clean my dishes, I promise. Just not this morning or last night. or the night before. I need you to understand, doing this step is so vital. Pasta water needs so much salt. Yo, my camera died. I'm so disappointed. I mean, I have all the audio on the side, it's fine, but I put water to a boil. I added a load of salt because, and this was my whole rant. Like, if you're afraid of salt, there are places that you should reduce it because it'll make it a lot more effective. Like, reducing the salt in the tomato sauce is a good idea because all of the salt you put into it is what you're eating. If you're afraid of salting your pasta water, that doesn't make any sense to me because most of it is being dumped out down the drain. Because whatever salt you put in here will disperse throughout the water. You're gonna add your pasta in. Most of that salt isn't being absorbed into the pasta. A good amount of it is sitting in the water, which will go down the drain. You know the expression, a little bit goes a long way. So a lot of it goes a little way also. Did that make sense? Salt your pasta water, please, I promise it's not gonna be the thing that kills you. This is cooking down really, really nicely, and we're gonna ruin it the moment we put these eggplant in here. I think the eggplant should be fine. Let's take them out of the oven. So I'm just gonna transfer these over. Oh, those are stuck. Oh my God, that was so quick. I love. What about you? So the aluminum foil is actually part of the recipe. It's gonna add so much flavor, a gorgeous minerality to this dish. I'm not being like tender to the touch because this is all gonna get chopped up anyway. I'm just gonna take the eggplant that I have and I'm gonna pop it on here. Don't be tender. I'm gonna pile them up on top of each other, chop it up. Go in, go to town. The pieces don't matter. This is gonna like disintegrate anyway, but it makes our lives easier if we just cut it down before we add it to the tomato sauce. And don't worry about the skin being too crispy or too dry because it's gonna rehydrate in this tomato sauce. So if anything, it's just going to add extra flavor because you got that mired browning because of it. See, it's already turning to mush. Back of the knife, don't scratch the blade, and toss it in there. There's all these like yummy, crispy bits at the bottom. I'm gonna scrape this up because that's just flavor. And you're just dumping it in. I'm adding a big plank of butter. I'm also adding bone broth just to add extra flavor to this. This has salt in it, right? It does. I'm not gonna be adding extra salt to this. Between the bone broth, the Parmesan, we'll get there, don't worry. And now just go ahead and mix this up. I forgot to add the 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder. We're gonna mix this in. In theory, you should add this when you add the red pepper flakes because we would wanna bloom this as well. But it's okay, not a big deal. If you want, you're welcome to add a few garlic cloves to this, but I also don't like adding things when they're just not necessary. And it was delicious without it. But if you have it, by all means, toss it in. With tomato sauces, the thing is, you don't want them to bubble too hard. You don't want them to be like, and like, bubble, 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 like too much. Like, whoa, you are doing way too much. You want these little gentle bubbles, so I'm gonna lower the heat a little bit, and it should be like, like gentle. This is honestly a really good texture on the pasta sauce. I like mine a little creamier, so I'm just gonna let it reduce for a little longer. But that'll give us some time to get started and finished on the Parmesan. Okay, girly, I have got my Parmesan. This is a 2-year aged Parmesan. I like them aged, you know, a little more finely. Not finely, I like them aged more because they have a little more like stink to them, a little more funk, a little more umami. In theory, that sounds gross, but when you're talking about cheese, it's something to look for, honestly. It adds so much flavor. So I'm gonna add a chunk, maybe about that size. I'm just gonna cut this into more, let's say, digestible pieces for the food processor. And of course, cut the wax off. What I also like to do is take the wax and just plop it in the sauce. I'm just gonna cut these again even. Really, I wanna make the job of the food processor that much more easy. If someone asks me what is your greatest triumph, it is discovering that you can blend Parmesan in a blender. Like you can make really, really fine Parmesan in a blender. I only use this blender for Parmesan at this point. Like you just, and then you give it a good shake just in case there's a chunk or two kind of stuck, and you go again. And of course there was a chunk. It's like snowfall, it's so gorgeous, look at this. Let's taste it. Ooh, that's so freaking good. Oh, see, I love cherry tomatoes just because they cook down so much faster. my old roommate, David, who we have an episode making gnocchi with, I'll put it up here. He taught me that cherry tomatoes, really, really quick way to make a delicious tomato sauce that's cooked properly. Just because they're smaller and they have all this flavor. They're amazing. I'm adding sugar now just to balance out that intense acidity from tomatoes. Every tomato is going to be different. Every tomato is going to have a different acidity. So add as much sugar as you think it needs, because a tomato in August is going to taste different from a tomato in February. You know what I mean? Use your tongue, use your palate, and cater it to your taste. Now for the shining star of this meal, our pasta. You know this trick, right? You take it and you twist it and you plop it in and it opens up like a flower. You know, like this, boom, twist, and that is the ugliest flower I've ever seen. That is a shame. I cannot stand angel hair pasta. It's just not fun to eat. I prefer bucatini because of the bite it has. It's just fun to chew because it's hollow. And two, because all that sauce gets up inside of the hollow noodle. There is no better pasta shape. There isn't. I don't know. Do you have a favorite pasta shape? Is there a pasta shape I'm overlooking by saying bucatini is the best, or is bucatini truly the best? I want to know. I want you to sound off. I want you to let me know your favorite pasta shape. Use these comments as a battle zone. We're gonna decide once and for all. All right, this is essentially done. I'm gonna scoop out a mug of pasta water. And then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna just use the cap to drain it. I don't even own a colander. This is how I drain my pasta. A little savage, but it's okay. It really does the job. And if there's a little pasta water left over, it's fine because we were gonna put some in anyway with the sauce. You know, we reserved that mug, so you don't have to go crazy straining the whole thing. And now we're gonna take the sauce and we're going to just dump it right in. Fold the sauce in, just fold it in. And now we're gonna add our Parmesan cheese. Normally I would put a little more butter at this point, but we already put some in, so I think olive oil is fine. We won't die. Now I'm gonna turn the flame off, it's done. It is glossy, it is creamy, it is exactly the texture that we're looking for. And now let us plate. So add your Parmesan to the bottom so you get Parm all over. So my friend always taught me Parmesan in a plate first. That way you get Parmesan through and through, top and bottom. Go ahead and add a little extra cheese. And if you want to be super fancy, add in some chives for extra color and a fresh little bite. Just look how gorgeous this is. Oh my God. Testing, testing. This flame is still on. I'm crazy. That's how you burn a house down. Oh my Lord. I'm not kidding. This is the best thing I've ever made. Like the best recipe I've ever created. Wow. If you haven't already, can you hit subscribe? Can you tap on that notification bell? And can you hit the like button? Roasted, set it ablaze. As always, my name is Yanni, and I thank you for watching Flambe.